live feed. So now that you're logged on, all right, go ahead and speak and ask folks to respond.
This is sort of a sound test, just checking to see that you can hear at home. Please, if you can hear, you can go ahead and respond that you can hear. I thought to start being demonstrative, as none of you could hear me, and wave my Bible in the air and do all sorts of different silliness just to make you at home wonder, what am I missing in this sermon? But we decided not to go with that. Instead, right now, we're just doing a sound check. So y'all can let us know if you can hear us at home.
Message Jenny. I see that people are watching, but nobody's responded that they're hearing yet. So.
They're hearing. So there's a lot of people watching.
Oh, you were going to get to be in the spotlight for so long.
Here, so Cassie, if you're watching, you can respond to it.
All right. It looks like we have sound. My daughter said got it.
Okay. All right. It looks like we have sound. Good morning, congregation. Yes, I feel like maybe I need to offer a disclaimer whenever I wear this shirt. But no, I'm not going to offer a disclaimer about the shirt. I hope that this day is finding you well in the midst of all this COVID craziness. And sometimes we can be very tired and run down, but I hope that you are well rested and that you are feeling good and that we're able to take advantage of the unique opportunities that this is bringing us. We're not leaving the house as much, and so we have more time at home. And I hope that we're taking advantage of this time to encourage Christ and to encourage God. And that we're taking advantage of this time to grow personally in our relationship with God. And also taking advantage of this time to encourage the same in other people as well. All the messages that we do are really aimed at encouraging other members and other people to just give God more honor, more glory in their lives. So I hope that that is something that we are successful in your life, is encouraging you to be more God honoring in your life. Well, over the last several weeks, I've had the privilege to discuss several different topics. One of those being seeking God through His Word and recognizing our problem with sin, and also seeing how God addresses our issues with sin through the power of the cross. This morning, I want to talk about being a disciple. And when I say disciple, that's a word that we don't use very often in our culture today. In my mind, I think about kung fu movies. My dad used to always rent kung fu movies for us to watch and for us to watch with friends. And one of the things that you see in those movies is that the students of the school, those disciples, they dedicated themselves to being just like their teacher. And on the occasion where one of these students was not like the teacher, it would be a disgrace. Such a disgrace, kick them out of the school and they'd be expelled. Because that is not like me, you're no student of mine. Disciple would be defined as being the student of a teacher or a philosopher. My definition for disciple is being a student of a discipline. And that's what I think of when I think of the word disciple, being a student. Because it doesn't matter what you've studied previously. Being at this school, learning from this teacher, you must be a student of their discipline. And this isn't an awkward thing, I guess, in our life. We see it a lot of different places. If someone wants to be a citizen of the United States, you have to go to school. There's a lot you have to learn about being a citizen of this country. I know that you were a citizen somewhere else, but we do things differently here. We don't drive on the left side of the road. Please don't do that. In fact, before you get behind a car and drive, you need to go to school for that too. Here in this country, all of our road signs are written in English. And if you don't recognize the symbols or you don't recognize the words, there's going to be a lot of problems out there. In this country, we call them cookies. Cookies, not biscuits. So if you're going to go somewhere and order a cookie, you need to say cookie. There's a lot of things that we do different in this country. If I were to say, I pledge allegiance to the flag, those of you at home can already finish up what I would have been saying. We've learned it since we were children. Oh, say, can you see? You can finish it off because we're citizens of this country. We know those songs, we know those words. How many of you know the words to any other nation's national anthem? I don't. Because I'm a citizen of this country, I've learned what it means to be part of this country. If I get a new job, they might appreciate the fact that I come to them with 10 years of experience in being a bank teller. But they would say, well, this is a different bank than you worked at before, and now you need to go through orientation because we do things differently here at this bank. Maybe you were a nurse or a teacher somewhere else. Well, that's great, but we have different systems that we run here in this system, so you have to learn how to be a part of this system. I recognize that a different team drafted you into this league, but now you're a part of this team. This team has a championship pedigree, and if you want to be a part of this organization and this team, you have a lot to learn. If I want to be a citizen of God's kingdom, I have a lot to learn because they do things very differently in God's kingdom. So as I talk about disciple, that's what I'm envisioning, a student of a discipline. And I study so that my actions can agree with what it is that I'm committed to. Now I want to enter into this conversation very early on. Another word, if you were to look in your Bibles to Acts chapter 11, verse 26. Here it reads, and when he found him, he brought him to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. The disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. I already mentioned the fact that we don't use disciple a lot in our conversation. We use the word Christian a lot. Well, according to Scripture, you'd find the word Christian 3 times and the word disciple close to 300 times. The Scripture doesn't use the word Christian so much as it uses the word disciple. We use the word Christian much more than we use this term disciple. Well, what does it mean here in this verse? Disciple was something that else, well, Christian was a term that someone else would put onto a disciple. They would say, you know, I've been watching you and I've been watching your actions and you remind me of the guy Jesus who they called the Christ. So I'm going to call you a Christian. Today, saying Christian is a self-proclamation. I am a Christian, and what we normally mean by that is, I love Jesus and I want everybody to know it. I'm a Christian. It's just, I sincerely want to lift him up. To say I am a Christian doesn't necessarily have an impact on how I'm going to respond when someone cuts me off on the road. Saying I'm a Christian doesn't necessarily. But to call myself a disciple, that still means very much what it meant in those kung fu movies that I watched. I'm a student of a discipline. I'm dedicating myself to intentional behaviors because my goal is to be trained to look like my. In fact, you can even see that in Jesus' own words in Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6, verse 39. Let's see. Yes. Luke chapter 6, verse 39, and he told them this parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A student is not above his teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher. This is what I'm talking about this morning. This is what I mean when I say being a disciple. We're a student of Jesus' discipline. And when we're fully trained, we'll look like our teacher. So what does it take to be a disciple? What does it mean to be a disciple? Well, we're going to take a look at the commitment of being a disciple. We're also going to take a look at some behaviors and actions that you could expect to come from someone who is committed in this way. And we're also going to take a look at the mindset, the point of view, the perspective that it has. Taking a look first at the commitment of being a disciple. We're going to keep looking at Jesus' words as he speaks because he tells us what we need to know about being his disciple. So here in Luke chapter 9, verse 23. In Luke chapter 9, verse 23, we see what it says here. Then he said to them all, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit his very self? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels. Deny himself. Take up his cross daily. Follow me. These are three things that Jesus introduces here. Deny myself. What does that mean to deny myself? First, that is the most unnatural thing that anyone could ask me to do. For all of my life, I've learned the skill of satisfying myself. I woke up. Why? Because I felt well rested. I got something to eat. Why? Because I was hungry. I went to the store and I bought this or I bought that. Why? Because I wanted it and I had money. Everything that I've been learning has been about how to satisfy myself. And Jesus here is saying, the very first thing you need to know about coming after me and becoming my disciple is you must deny yourself. This is not about satisfying your wants and your desires. This is about something totally different. A disciple must first deny themselves, and I guess it could be said even more seriously. You must die to yourself. Well, wait a second, no. It says deny himself. Well, what does the second part say? And take up his cross daily. If you're not very familiar with the culture in this time, the cross is not a decorative ornament. The cross is not a fashion statement. You wouldn't go down a street and see some house. How beautiful that house is with the little crosses all around it. You would not go to a bazaar in Jerusalem and buy a fat gold chain with a huge cross and be like, yo, that's not how this works. The cross is an instrument of death. You'd see the cross when someone was either dying or dead. So when Jesus says here, and take up his cross daily, this is what he means. You're dying to yourself. If I had a really, really funny joke, and I told it to a dead man, that dead man's not going to sit there and, okay, I'm trying to keep a straight face, but that was funny. He better not do that. If I'm looking at a dead man and I think, is he really dead? And I pinch his leg, this dead man's not going to jump up and say, ah! He better not. He's dead. Dead people will not respond. And Jesus is telling here, he's saying, if you want to be my disciple, You have to deny yourself. You have to take up your cross daily. You have to die to yourself. I've been crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, but it's not I, it's Christ that lives in me. The life that I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Jesus is saying, deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me. I've been, professionally, I've worked at a museum, and I was working over a youth program. I was a campus minister. I've been a youth minister. My family and I moved away from Florida, so we've taken a lot of road trips here and there. I've followed a lot of people. If you're one of these people who says, oh, I'm a really good leader, it's just that other people have a hard time following, you're not a leader. A leader will have people who follow. And if I'm following, then I will do what the leader does. If the leader punches it because they're not paying any attention and they fly through a school zone at 50 miles an hour, if I'm following them, I fly through that school zone at 50 miles an hour. And when they get pulled over for a ticket, I get pulled over for a ticket. Because a student that is fully trained looks like their teacher. Not everyone should lead, and I should be very selective about who it is I follow. But Jesus didn't always lead through gentle feel. Sometimes the path that he chose was dangerous. When Lazarus died and Jesus said, we're going to go back, his disciples said, wait a second. They tried last time you were there. We don't need to go back. That's not a safe place to be. And Thomas, to his credit, doubting Thomas, he always gets a very bad rap. Thomas is very loyal. Thomas says, hey, let's go. I didn't accuse him of being a ray of sunshine, but he's loyal. He says, if Jesus is going, let's go with him. If I'm going to follow him, then I will go where he leads. Well, Jesus also in Luke says something else. He brings in a different dynamic to this idea of the commitment of being a disciple. Luke chapter 14, and you can start looking there in verse 25. I do believe it's Luke 14, verse 25. Let me see. Yes. It says here, large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Well, there's this idea again, picking up this cross, instrument of death, dying to yourself and following him. But here he introduces another thought. As compared to every relationship you've ever had, you need to love me and hate them. If anyone said that to me, I'd look at him and say, you're sort of crazy. Like that, there's no way that's happening. Parents? My wife wouldn't let that happen. My children, my brother and sister, even my own life, you're bigger in my life than they are? Nah, I can't. But right now I'm thinking back at conversations that we've already had. And recognizing that I've been seeking to know the God who is. And when I discovered more about him, I see that his character is such that he's been seeking me too. I see the wisdom, I see the goodness of not seeking my own desires in this life, but instead seeking to please him. I see how that will work out much better for me in my life than what I've been doing. And I recognize the fact that I have a problem with sin. But even before I knew that, God took care of that. Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ. And it's this same Jesus who's saying to me, compared to every other relationship you have, love me and hate them. I remember how hopeless I was starting to feel, looking back and seeing all the penalties facing me, looking forward and seeing a road full of misery. How desperately I wanted help. I wanted someone to show up and help. My parents couldn't do it. My wife and children couldn't do it. My brother and sister, even I myself, was powerless to help me. But thanks be to God who delivers me through Christ Jesus, my Lord. It's this Jesus who's saying to me, as compared to every other relationship, love me and hate them. I am first, close second. I sit alone at the top. You love me. For him, I could do that. For him. Anyone else who asks that is just crazy, but for him, I could do that. It's something that we really need to consider, this commitment, because it's not an easy commitment that's being put out in front of us. It's not something to take lightly. It's something to consider very carefully what it is that I want to do. And if I want to be his disciple, he tells me I must deny myself, take up my cross daily, follow him. With respect to every other relationship, I love him. And the rest of those relationships come nowhere close. In thinking about what actions accompany a disciple, I want to tell you a little story first. It's really funny. I mean, my youngest son, Ian, he loves to be competitive at whatever he does. He doesn't be lesser. He's the youngest son, and so maybe that's part of the dynamic of being the youngest son. So he doesn't necessarily like to get into physical feats with his brothers, but he loves video games. When he was 4 years old, he came to me and said, "Daddy, can we play video games?" Wow. Yes, son. Yes, we can. Very rarely has a cooler statement been uttered by a 4-year-old. "Daddy, can we play video games?" "Yes, son, we can." "What game do you want to play?" "I want to play the racing game." Will you race me in the racing game?" "Well, that's a really complicated game, and I'm pretty good at that." Now, you also need to know something else about me as a father. I take every chance I can to beat my sons. They don't need to beat me. I don't need to make them feel like, "Oh, I'm better than Daddy." No, you're not, and you won't be for a very long time. But one day, that will be quite an accomplishment, because I don't try to lose at anything, and in fact, sometimes I even talk trash to them to teach them how it's supposed to be done properly. You know, that's what it's about. But Ian, a couple weeks, very eagerly asks his brothers when they come home, "Hey, do y'all want to play the racing game?" And they go back and they're playing. And of course, I knew what was going on because he'd been practicing with me. And I hear from the back, "How are you that good?" And then in a couple minutes, I hear, "I love playing this game because I love to win." He was committed to brothers, and that led him to certain behaviors. He practiced. He wanted to make sure, yes, I'm better than my brothers at this game. Being a disciple, what kind of actions, what kind of behaviors would I expect to accompany someone who was a disciple? Once again, we're going to take a look at Jesus' own words about this. And our next couple of examples are going to be from the book of John. So if you turn in your Bibles, actually right now, to John chapter 8, verse 31. Here Jesus says, it reads, to the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, "If you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." if you hold to my teachings. We have a phrase, hold on. Let me explain. If you ever hear someone, especially here in America, say, hold on, here's what they're trying to communicate to you. Right now in your own brain, you have a priority system. You have a set of priorities. That needs to be arranged immediately, rearranged. Everything you thought was important is now at the bottom. Very top is this handle or steadying yourself. Right now, you need to put at the top of your priority set, holding on to whatever I'm telling you to hold on to. Nothing else is really important right now. When someone says, hold on, that's also saying let go. I know you thought these other things were important. Right now, you need to let go of all of that, and you need to hold on to this. So what is it that Jesus is saying hold on to? If you hold to my teaching, Jesus is teaching. There are other people you may admire. You may say, this person's really sharp. I love their analogies. I love the way they talk. I like listening to them. It's one of the reasons why I always say, open your Bible. I'm a work in progress. And today, I may not know what I don't know. And I may learn more and learn more. But if we're to his teachings, if we're reading his teachings, if that's what we're holding to, it says, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I've heard many times say, well, that doesn't make so much sense to me. I don't understand it. And that's fair. The reason you don't understand is because you weren't supposed to understand before you obeyed. My kids will say, where are we going? Put on your clothes. Where are we going? Put on your clothes. It's not for them to understand where we're going and all the other things that are happening in this world. They need to just simply obey. And here God is saying, through Jesus, he's saying, if you hold to my teachings, hold to that, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. A disciple obeys the word of God. Also in John chapter 13, we'll start there in verse 34. A disciple will love other disciples. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this all men will know that you are disciples, if you love one another. A disciple will love other disciples. I've heard people say before, I don't like organized religion. I can have a great relationship with God all on my own. It sounds like someone saying, I'm a vegan. It's just that I eat animal byproducts and occasionally I eat meat. I don't think you understand what it means to be part of that group. Vegans don't eat animal byproducts or meat. So you can't be a vegan who does that. It's just impossible. I'm a disciple, but I don't really love other disciples. That's impossible. They will know that you are my disciple by your love for one another. Well, what does it mean to love one another? Well, first off, you spend time together. You encourage. We could see all these things in Acts. If your fellow disciple needs something that you have in abundance, you'll sacrifice so that they have what they need. It's not about me, it's about all of us. And you even correct them. I know that's not popular for a lot of people. Oh, I don't want to do that. If I love someone, correcting them is part of that process. Once again, as a parent, I correct my children. Why? Because dancing in the middle of the street during rush hour, it's a bad idea. I correct my kids. Why? Putting your face right over a pot of boiling food is a really bad idea. I love you. I don't want you to do that kind of stuff because it will hurt you and it will not give you the full kind of life I'm hoping for you. So if I love someone, correction is just part of that whole process. And the disciple loves other disciples. So there is going to be encouragement. There is going to be fellowship. There is going to be sacrifice for each other. And there is going to be correction. Jesus also says that a disciple will bear fruit. John chapter 15, we'll start in verse 5. Here Jesus is saying, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain like a branch that is thrown away and withers, such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask for wish, and it will be given you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. You will bear fruit. Why? It's to the Father's glory. It's what God wants. As I have committed myself to being like Jesus in every way, I will bear the same fruit Jesus bore in his life. I think of the fruit of the Spirit from Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. If I've committed myself to being his disciple, I'm going to be like my teacher, and I will bear much fruit. Why? Because that's what God wants. I may not know exactly all the fruit that I'm bearing, but as I approach life and as I walk through life, showing love, showing that peace, showing that patience, it's going to reap a reward that brings honor and glory to God. A disciple has to be committed. Once you are committed in that way to following Jesus, you can expect that a disciple will obey God's word. You can expect that a disciples. You can also expect that a disciple will bear much fruit. And so we see here these behaviors that we'd expect from a disciple. But going even further, this happens because a disciple begins to approach life in a very different way. A disciple is going to be humble. If I were proud, then I would either exalt myself to being the superlative of something good or the superlative of something bad, because no matter what, I am amazingly whatever I am. Humility is the opposite of that. It's not this improper view of my self-worth where I either exalt myself or demean myself to the extreme. Being humble is where I appropriately view my self-worth. I'm not so valuable that God had to love me. God loves me, and that's what gives me value. I'm humble. It's not all about me. It's about God. Jesus is not my co-pilot. He's not my advisor. He's not sitting in the back seat or a pinch hitter or a substitute player. Jesus is Lord, and I am not. A disciple comes to this place of recognizing this is where I stand in the grand scheme of things. Jesus is Lord, and I do whatever he tells me to do. A disciple, we see that in Matthew chapter 10, Jesus tells them, if you enter a city, you say, peace be to you. And if they're not accepting of that, then let your peace be to you. Not so that you can self-righteously wait for them to burn. Being like Jonah and sitting on a hilltop waiting for fire to come down from heaven. That's not the point. The point is, it's not all about me. In fact, if they treated my master a certain way, I can expect that they'll treat me the same. Take a look in the book of John. John chapter 5, verse 19. I like something that is here in this section. We see Jesus talking again. Jesus gave them this answer. I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. Our answer should be like Jesus. People say, it's not about me and how wonderful I am. Why are you doing this? Because that's what my master did. What you see me doing is what he did. I'm not doing anything of my own. I'm going to do what he said to do. Jesus is Lord. I'm not. When you think of the Great Commission, the very first thing that is mentioned there is go, make disciples. So as I am recognizing that I do want to seek after God, as I'm recognizing that I need to change the way that I live my life so that I can be God-honoring, as I see the sin that plagues my life and hold to the power of the cross, the answer of God to this sin in my life, my real first step is to respond to the question, am I ready? Jesus is Lord. Am I ready to be committed to being a disciple? It's something worth thinking about. What would have to change? I wouldn't want anyone to just flippantly give that answer, because being committed translates into action. Are you ready to say that Jesus is Lord? There's one more verse I want to take a look at. Mark chapter 1, verse 18. Actually, we'll read verse 17 and 18. Jesus says in verse 17, "Come, follow me," Jesus said, "and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. Is this what you want to do in your life? Do you want to be a disciple of Jesus? Are you ready to say that Jesus is Lord? If so, take action immediately. This is something that is a very big call. It's a very serious call. But for him, I can do that. If there's a way that as a congregation we could help you in your pursuit of being a disciple of Jesus and being more God-honoring in your life, or encouraging that in the lives of others, please let us know. It would be our joy to help you in that. God bless you.
Well, good morning. Glad that you're with us this morning. As you recall, last week I told you we had a new video system we're trying out, and one button I didn't push this morning, and it was the sound button. So I apologize for that this morning. We learned by our mistakes, so I'll start with I'll be into this morning's lesson with the announcements that you didn't hear, and so just a few of them that as we close our service. We need to continue to pray for J.J. Barton and Michael and Melanie Warren, Brad and Shirley, and also a member of our community and teacher, Jill Griffith, as they recover from the COVID virus. Also, we need to remember our shut-ins. Betty Bickle, who's in Granbury Care Center, Beth Hobbs, who is with her daughter in Decatur, Faye Hurley is at the Courtyards in Granbury, and Barbara Hutchison is in the Mulberry Manor in Stephenville. On a good note, we need to congratulate Greg, Sophia, and Ezra Bell on the birth of Ezra's brother. Jude Bruno Mendoza, born on Thursday. Everyone is doing great. Grandparents are Linda Bell and Ronnie Bell. Great-grandparents are Johnny and Jerry Houston. And we also need to remember our expectant mother now, Jessica Burrell. Others we need to pray for is Cleta Akers, Buck and Roberta Chisholm, Toby Cushing, Joanne Dudick, Patsy Grossman, Melissa Medcalf, Sam Medcalf, and in our military we need to remember Robert J. Foster and Ethan Wells. We had a prayer request this week from Pat Anderson. This Wednesday morning in Tyler, our granddaughter Valerie Phillips Garamado will be having an appendectomy. And on Thursday, Fort Worth, our daughter-in-law's dad, Jackie Boyd, is having his toes removed due to diabetes. So we need to remember that family as well. Casey will have surgery this Tuesday, and Roberta started radiation last week, which is going to last about 5 weeks. If I missed anything, I'm sorry about that. That people that need to be in our prayers. If you have any requests, send them to Aurelio via email, or you can call and leave a message here at the church. Or you can just contact Lisa or myself, and we'll make sure we can get it in the announcements as we go forward. Again, we just want to thank you for being patient with us as we go through the next few weeks. We thought it best to hold off our in-person services until November the 1st. And we hope this will give enough time for all those that are in contact with the people that were infected to be cleared. So at that time, it's a prayer meet again here in the building, November 1st, so 10 o'clock. But we will continue all of our online services, including this Wednesday night. We will continue our Old Testament study. Talked to Brad a little bit earlier this morning, and he said they were kind of taking one step forward and 2 steps back, and so we just need to remember them. They had a kind of rough night last night, so just remember them in our prayer. So we'll close this service with a prayer, and also we're going to do a little test when we get through with this one, so you may see another live episode of this go on as soon as we get through here, just to make sure next week. So we'll have everything hopefully in service. And so we'll close with a song and a prayer. Our Father, we just thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for our presence here and all those that are watching online. And we just thank you for your Son who died for us, that we always remember that. Father, we thank you for your church here. We ask you to keep us safe during this time. Help your church here to grow every day. Help us be the ones that people look to for guidance, and they also look to you for guidance. They see you through us. Help us go through this week and keep us safe. And